Welcome to Cinemophile, where we bring you the best in independent, documentary, and foreign films, and we talk to the people who made them. I'm your host, Mike Caspar, and you can find out more about the program by going to cinemophilepod.com. In 2005, after graduating high school, Maggie Doyne embarked on a gap year where she met Tope, a now grown Nepalese orphan caring for orphaned children. United in purpose, Maggie and Tope pooled resources to establish a children's home, women's empowerment program, and a school in Nepal. The film is called Between the Mountain and the Sky, and it is a very, very powerful, emotionally driven film with a lot to say. And a lot to say about the power of love, about the power of connections with other people, about the world we live in, and how there are 80 million orphaned children in the world. And this is a small sliver of what can be done if you put your mind and your heart into it. And we're joined today by the director of Between the Mountain and the Sky, Jeremy Power Regimbal. Jeremy, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so very, very much. It's a film that I do believe will resonate with a lot of people for a lot of reasons. How did you come to the project?
Oh, it's interesting because I've worked in film like for my whole life, and usually when you get on a film, you're like building a deck and trying to pitch to get money, and making up PDFs and just trying to do everything you can. And this was not that at all. This was I met Maggie, who the film follows, at an event like in 2015, and we really hit it off and we were friends. And then we re-met a year later, which is right after there was an accident that happens you see in the film, and she was like kind of in her lowest moment of her life. And we met and just we connected, and there was like an instant spark between us, even though she was in this really hard place. Our relationship and the film kind of started at the same time. It's hard to say what started first. It was very interesting, and so it was just something that really organically happened. It started as something as simple as I was just trying to listen to Maggie. She had just gone through the hardest thing she's ever experienced in her life and was in a lot of grief. I just was kind of like a listening board. And then at one point, a friend of ours was like, you guys should record some of these conversations. And so we started recording conversations. And then, yeah, it would all happen so fast. Within 3 months, I was back in Nepal with her. And I was just going to go on one trip and kind of capture all the children of the home in Nepal. The first time we came there I was just like a friend. I was introduced as a friend, and there's like a line in the film where one of the kids makes fun of us later because they realized they're like, he introduced him as a friend, turned out to be a lover, and they all just we thought we were like being all smart and slick that no one would know, but they half of them knew right away. But yeah, it was just something that really organically happened, and it took us 10 years to film, and my life completely was changed in every single possible way. I was working in commercials at the time and living in LA, and was like a bachelor. And then now, yeah, if you see the film, my life's very, very different now. So we live in Nepal, 9 months of the year now, and I'm part of a lot of lovely humans' lives now. So
What was that like the first day you walked into that school? When you walked up to it, to the school and to the place where all of these children, these people are. What was that like for you going through?
um, the first time I went there, it was really hard because I think normally if you would have came there without what was happening in their lives, there was a lot of grief and trauma at this moment. So I there was a lot of mixed feelings of like, should I have a camera? I brought a cinematographer with me because I was like, I need to be present because I'm this woman that I'm in love with is going through in this incredible hard moment in her whole family. So when I first got there, I think I was really scared that it was going to be very, dark and sad. But as soon as we walked through the gate, it was the complete opposite. It was just like an explosion of like love and magic, and they were just all so happy to see Maggie back. And the home has, at that point, there was like 50 children from probably like 5 to 18. So it was just like a wild first experience walking in there. And but it was just, I don't know, it just felt, people often ask me, they're like, that's crazy, like what were you thinking getting in a relationship with someone with that many kids and all this stuff? And at the time it didn't feel like that at all. It just felt very natural and magic. As soon as I met all the kids, I knew there was like no going back. I was like, oh my God, this is just pure magic. But yeah, you'd think that a home with that many kids would be a lot more like chaos and craziness, but it's just like a really beautiful, like they've created their own like mini society because there's like so many kids in one home, and there's also besides Maggie, like 8 or 9 caregivers that live in the home. So I went through every range of emotion for sure that first day, kept walking in there.
From the film, it's apparent that Maggie and the people who work with her on this have created an environment for children who have been significantly traumatized in one way or another. God knows how. God knows the many different ways in which these children have experienced things that we should never put children through or anybody through. So it's kind of pure joy to see these kids as they, not only do when they see Maggie and they interact with her, but amongst themselves. I'm sure there are squabbles. I'm sure kids who are, of that age, of any age, we all get into things with somebody that we love. You see so much of this just kind of bubbling over in their interactions with one another, and the respect. That's another thing that kept thinking. These children seem to really understand the idea of respecting one another.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when you're there, you forget because they've done such a great job of creating this loving, safe environment. They have the children's home, but they also have a school and a women's center. So they've created this like their own ecosystem, really. And you kind of forget sometimes that the harsh reality of what some of these kids came from. One thing that came to mind when we were saying that, like things like birthdays are always really interesting there because some kids they get a birthday and they've never had anyone celebrate their birthday before, and it's really emotional. Or birthdays may also bring up, how much they miss their parents that they've lost, or there's so many mixed things. It's very easy to kind of be there and forget what's happened. And then I definitely have moments where and I'm also just a documentary filmmaker, so I'm always looking at things like that. But I'll sit there sometimes in the morning as we have like tea, and you just see all these kids running around so happy, and you're looking at them and remembering, what they even just looked like when they first came in. Some kids have had really bad physical abuse, trauma, and some of them come in and they won't even talk at the beginning, and then they turn into the most magical extroverted child ever. And then others come in and it's like they've been there their whole life. They're like within 2 seconds, they're like, "You're my friend, you're my friend, let's go." And but yeah, it's pretty incredible how Nepal in general is very multi-generational living, and that's what we have in our home. And I think that's, me. I grew up in Canada, and I had 5 siblings, so it's kind of a big family, what you'd think. But when you get there, I was expecting like 10 times the chaos, but it's not. It's like this. Everyone's got their own little crews in the group, and if you get sick of this person, you can go hang out with someone else in the home. There's like 5 levels of 50 children, so yeah,
Wild stuff. Let's talk
yeah.
about Maggie Doyne. We're introduced to her fairly early in the film for what she was honored for as a CNN Hero of the Year in 2015. But let's do a little backstory on where Maggie came from.
Maggie's originally went on a gap. She's from New Jersey. She's American, but she went on a gap year in 2008, I want to say 2007. But she went on a gap year and was just kind of no big plans, I don't think, originally. And but she got there and at some point met Tope, who was her co-founder, and they worked together in India for about 2 years, I guess. And Tope, her partner, is like a huge part of the story. He grew up as an orphan in Nepal, and then he was in India helping Nepali refugees who fled across the border, and they just immediately connected, and they spent 2 years working together. And then they at one point were just like, I feel like we're just bandaging the problem. We need to get closer to the source of what the problem is. And that was obviously happening in Nepal because there's all these refugees fleeing there. So they each had $5,000. Maggie had $5,000 of babysitting money, and Dope had that, like $5,000 that he'd saved up from working. And they bought that first piece of land together. And yeah, the thing that I admire about her and Tope, both of them, is they just really just started with one thing. They were like, let's help this one child. And it started with that. And then they saw the impact of that. And then they're like, let's help another child and another. And it just, that's like how their whole story goes. They start with one. And then at some point they were like, we have all these children, but we need a better school. So they started their own school. And then they're like, how can we stop children from becoming orphans? And they realized they could create a women's center to empower women to not only learn to support themselves, but there's also a lot of women. If you get divorced in Nepal, it's like really looked down in some of the rural society or cultures. So they have these whole ecosystem that's basically trying to get to the root of the problem of why an orphan is created in the first place. And yeah, they're just, I mean, I can't even, it's hard to describe
Yeah.
them in words. They're both just such loving, amazing beings, and they just care so deeply about women and children's rights everywhere in the world. But they just chose to focus on this village where Tope was from because they felt like they could really make a difference. And quite the amazing duo. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad we're talking about Tope because the film opens with him basically calling Maggie saying, "Hey, I got these kids. What do you think?" And then you see that that starts the wheels in motion, and that's how we get into the story. And just a gentle soul. It's so encouraging to see the level of cooperation and the way that Maggie interacts with people of Nepal, but the barriers between her being from America, from another culture, that all of that seems to have dropped away, and it's just a person-to-person relationship that we see unfold.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Maggie's, been there almost 20 years, so she's put in a lot of time. And obviously she could speak better about it, but I know there's obviously been complications being an outsider coming into and
Yeah.
trying to help. But I think the one thing that I've taken away from it is that they're just really good at listening rather than coming in and just being like, this is what needs to happen, and we're going to throw some money at it, and I'm going to go back to college and watch this happen. Maggie like really moved there and became a part of the community, and Tope's brother and his sister-in-law, and like they had this little mini family that most of them lost their parents really young, and they were a really bonded tight crew, and Maggie just became a part of that. And that's like the original 7 or 8 people that started it. And 18 years later they're still all together. But yeah, I've been very impressed with Maggie's ability to do that. And I think a big reason is because she had Tope, who grew up there, and Tope is like the very silent, quiet operations mastermind behind the scenes. And he doesn't love doing like interviews like this as much as Maggie's like really good at being in the out there raising money. And so the two of them were just this really great yin and yang partnership that complement each other very well. So yeah.
I want to point people to the website for a lot of reasons. One, that they should be looking for this film, and that is between the mountains and the sky.com. You can find it there. And also, you can find out how to host a screening. And I would strongly encourage anyone who's listening to our conversation to do that. I think you would find that it will bring a lot of people together. And if that's your purpose, this is a really good film for that, is to bring people together and to understand our common humanity instead of trying to highlight our differences. This is really a great film for that. Anything you want to add to that?
Oh, thank you so much. That's great. No, yeah, I mean, between the mountain and the sky.com is the website. And I mean, it's in theaters right now across the US. And then our next kind of big step is, like you're saying, going to be doing these partnership screenings. So we have the first one in July, and like Mark Duplass and his team, who's the executive producer, we're hosting that first one ourselves. And then I think a lot of the other ones are going to rely on partners. We have an organization called Together Women Rise, and they're going to do a series of events with us online and in person. So I think that's really everything. We don't really have that big, marketing money machine behind us. We just have a mighty, mighty group of advocates and believers that love the story. And everywhere we go, we are able to gain a few new advocates that are really pushing it out. And so that's why we've kind of been on the road for, the last year, just meeting people at screenings and really trying to put the word out there. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's everything for us right now. If people obviously can request it to their local theaters, they don't have to, they can just
Yeah.
reach out to us if you have a big group. There's like an organization called the Great Nepali Diaspora, and they've been like organizing screenings and bringing people out, in New York and LA and Boston and all sorts of things. So I mean, that's everything when you're a small independent documentary right now. You got to find a way to break through the noise, and ours seems to be the power of the people and the word of mouth. So yeah.
And as I understand it, you're in town along with Maggie Doyne, and you said one of the people from the organization are in town, and you'll be at the Lemley NoHo on Saturday, May 31st at the 420 screening. So in addition to that live screening at the Lemley NoHo, you can go to betweenthemountainandthesky.com to find out about that screening as well as many others. You can just stay on top of it and the many ways in which you can lend support and or get this film into your own local theater as well. And in the time we have left together, Jeremy, I just want to underscore again the power of the film, the power of the people in the film to be able to convey to us what they're doing, why they're doing it, to see the people that they're helping, to see the support that we see in the film for them amongst many different people, and to see these children who are in an environment where they're given an opportunity to thrive, to be better at who they are, in an environment that fosters love and understanding and respect. Just a terrific film all the way around. Once again, the film Between the Mountain and the Sky. You can go to the website betweenthemountainandthesky.com to find out more. You can also reach out to your local theater. You can organize a screening of your own. There's also Blink Now, which is the organization that helps fund the organization that Maggie is put together. So much here.
Yeah, and I mean, I know the in-person screenings are always hard just because, you know, you can only reach so many people in each one. But so July 10th will be our first time that we've ever played the full film online. So all that information is going to be on the website as well. Yeah, exciting. Mark Duplass and Maggie and me will be on that doing a live Q&A. And then, so it'll only be live for a few days, but we'll be doing that July 10th. So.
Okay, great. Great. Thank you. Thank you for all that information. Been a pleasure. It's been an honor too, because I love films like this. I love being able to talk to filmmakers about their work in general, but in this particular case, it was a joy. It was a joy to watch and very moving. So, again, the film is Between the Mountain and the Sky, and we've been speaking with the director, Jeremy Power Regimbal. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate having me.
You have been listening to Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar, the place where you will hear from the best in independent documentary and foreign filmmakers. Please check out our previous interviews as well as upcoming interviews and special programming by going to cinemaphilepod.com. We are also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, searchable under Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar. Until next time, thank you for listening.